Hey, smell that? Smells like somebody's been using a cow carcass for a porta potty. We must be dumpster diving. That's right, it's Dumpster Dive, the show where I dive into Anna Twitter's endless bowels to find me some hot, sticky takes. I fish the best ones out, and I present them all to you, and inevitably start an argument in the comments, thus feeding YouTube's algorithm.
Brilliant.
Now, my only caveat for hot takes on Dumpster Dive is that they have to be made in good faith. I can smell a troll coming from a mile away, but with that being said, I'm still placing a lot of trust in you guys here, so, don't let me down, please. Yeah, I'm handing an axe murderer the keys to the asylum, but in for a penny. So, it's our first take on our first episode, so, we better start off with something spicy. School Days is legitimately a work of subversive genius. Is it though? I mean, I get why you can call it subversive, but genius? The whole anime reads like a 4-hour-long joke leading up to one punchline. Glorious though that punchline is. Man, I wish all these characters would just die already. But once you've heard the joke, do you really want to hear it again? That doesn't sound like genius material to me. Watching School Days is like watching somebody recite an Aristocrats joke, but instead of the family doing a bunch of depraved stuff, they only act like immature jerks to each other. And then all of a sudden the mother just kills the entire family with a hacksaw. I will grant you though that without anime like School Days popularizing the yandere character trope as well as deconstructing the harem and school anime tropes, you probably wouldn't have titles like Doki Doki Literature Club. So I suppose you could say that it was influential. Though even then I'd say that Higurashi was more foundational for the blood-soaked path that School Days would inevitably follow. So no, I don't agree. And that's what you get for ratioing me on my own Twitter prompt, Wolf. What you gonna do? Spy Family is the only anime to make me love the medium again after so long. Yeah, I was pretty slow to getting around to Spy Family, mostly because I'm leery around any anime that centers around a little girl. I finally saw a few episodes and, well, I get it. It's a cute and funny show. But, you know, that's it. And hey, if it winds up being the show that got you back into anime, then good for you. You certainly could have picked worse. Though I think that's kind of a rite of passage here in the anime fandom. After a while, you just kind of taper off and lose interest, and then all of a sudden an anime comes around, and then you're Michael Corleone in Godfather 3.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
For me, I fell off around 2007 when I just gave up on trying to follow Naruto 10 minutes at a time on early YouTube, and I basically didn't pick up anime again until I started doing Anime Abandoned in 2011. Has that ever happened to you before, where you just lose interest in anime? Let me know in the comments, and tell me the anime that brought you back in. Cowboy Bebop's really good, but its ending kind of sucks. It's so perfect in terms of the direction and animation, but when you stop to think about it, it feels like the ending to a season and arc I missed a lot of episodes for, and not like a proper finale. I really don't see that, like, at all. I mean, it was pretty obvious that Julia and Spike and Vicious all shared a past with each other. We didn't need an episode explaining that to us, Netflix Bebop. But if you mean to say that the ending would have been better if the anime paid more plot or story to Vicious over the course of the show, then I guess I wouldn't bat an eye if there were more episodes with Vicious in it, if it meant that we didn't have episodes like Boogie Woogie Feng Shui or Bohemian Rhapsody. Seriously, does anyone even remember the chess episode? Other than that, no, I don't agree. I think Cowboy Bebop's ending was as perfect an anime ending could be. You know, outside of Jupiter Jazz's ending. I find Mamoru Oshii immensely frustrating. His work is consistently gorgeous and Angel's Egg is wonderful, but dream sequence aside, I found Jin-Roh deeply tedious and vastly prefer Innocence to the first Ghost in the Shell film. Yes, this one is for Bennett in particular, P. God, you're supposed to be my fans, right? Nah, I get it, it's a fair cop. Even I get frustrated with Oshii's work sometimes, especially his live action work. Stray Dog can eat all of the dicks, one after the other. And I can even see how Jin-Roh can be tedious, as you put it, but it's just my vibe. I love the gray, gritty, dark atmosphere that movie has. Although, I am curious to know what, in your opinion, makes Innocence the better Ghost in the Shell movie than the original Ghost in the Shell, because in no way does Innocence measure up to what the first film accomplished. You can't tell me in the exact same breath that you found Jin-Roh to be tedious, and then go around and say that the movie with Togasa and Bato spieling about Bible verses to be the superior Gits film. Come on. The One Piece rap is a better opening than We Are. Also, JoJo is ugly and I hate looking at it. There, I said it. Yeah, I agree. The One Piece rap is a fun bop that goes way harder than it has any right to, and it's overly hated just because of its affiliation to 4Kids. By the by, if you're one of those people that still bang on about how evil 4Kids were, the company's been defunct since 2017. Let it go. But before you think I'm just gonna gloss over about what you just said about my boy Araki-san, JoJo's art is insane and it makes no sense and I love it. Even by anime standards, Araki's hairstyles defy all logic, reason, and physical possibility. How in the world could you not love Enrico Pucci's cut? The dude somehow managed to cut a star pattern out of his bangs and eyebrows. The only other person that could possibly pull this off is like Cousin Id or like the Wolfman. You just can't look at an Araki character and confuse them for anything else. You're not gonna look at Sekko here and think, hey, did Rumiko Takahashi draw this? Araki is a national treasure, and I will not stand by such slander. Moving on. Dub VAs complaining about a $300 payday comes off completely tone deaf when you consider that JP Seiyu, who aren't A-listers, don't make all that much either. I wouldn't say they're being tone deaf because what you're talking about here is just systemic of a problem that the anime industry has been dealing with for years now. Low wages have been a part of the anime industry almost since the beginning with Astro Boy, when Osamu Tezuka literally underbid himself and his animators with producers just so he could make Mushi Studios a reality. It's not just the actors, the animators, the editors, nearly everyone who has to do the unsexy work to make anime a reality all get the shaft. It's a long and tangled production pipeline that has to be unwound if anime is to continue creating more anime while also giving everyone who had a hand in making anime a livable wage. So no, I don't think they're being tone deaf, they're just focusing on a smaller part of a much wider issue. Besides, no English voice actor talks about their low wages with the expectation that they should be paid more than the Japanese voice actors. Framing it like that is just self-defeating and enables a mindset that both parties should be paid like shit, when they obviously shouldn't. Digital animation can never look as good as cell animation. There was a time in the late 90s when digipainting was just starting to gain traction in the anime industry as a cost-saving measure, and true to word, it looked like crap. The colors were way too bright, especially when they were cast against pure black backgrounds. It destroyed any sense of lighting. It just made anime look really, really cheap. With that being said, the industry as a whole has come a long way since then, and while I'm always going to be nostalgic for the traditional cell-based animation that I grew up with, I'm not going to pretend that there aren't some fantastic looking digital animation out there. Hell, if you want a recent CG animated film that looks like it was traditionally cell painted, check out The Summit of the Gods. An absolutely jaw-dropping looking movie. At the end of the day, the medium doesn't dictate the aesthetic beauty of the piece. The artist does. And besides, there is plenty of butt-ugly traditional animation out there. Death Note's second half is still great, especially the ending was amazing. It's been a while since I've rewatched Death Note. Probably should get around to doing that sometime soon. Still, I remember thinking that once L died, spoilers by the way, the show should have ended there. Nothing about Nier or Mello interested me at all, and it just felt like the entire story was starting over again. And for a series that was already stretching the suspension of disbelief over what a person could reasonably anticipate, the antics in the second half just got way too much for me. So no, I wouldn't call the second half of the series great. L should have found a way to one-up Kira and spare us all that sputtering, meandering end. You know, kind of like what the live-action movies did. But you are right, that ending was pretty amazing, no denying that. The only way it could have been better is if the anime played us out with some Red Hot Chili Peppers. Dubs suck absolute like 90% of the time, and I can count ones I vibe with on one hand. I feel like primarily consuming anime via dub is genuinely detrimental to the experience for most stuff because you lose a layer of stuff that only works better in Japanese. Ding 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 ding! We got ourselves our very first subs are better than dubs hot take. I've made my piece known about where I stand in the whole subs versus dubs debate, so the only thing I'll add here is that if you do not speak fluent Japanese, you're always going to be missing something. Whether you put on the sub or the dub, you're still relying on a translator's interpretation of the language to let you know what's going on. Just because subtitles don't have to kowtow to lip flaps doesn't mean that you instantly have all necessary context and meaning. If you speak Japanese, of course, this is a complete non-issue, but I don't buy for one single moment that consuming anime only in dub form is any more detrimental than consuming anime already is. Fudging localizations is good, actually. Super direct translations often come across as stiff. In Zone of the Enders, the second runner, the villain's ready to blow up a planet, and the protagonist calls him a jerk. Come on now, that's a Norm Macdonald joke. And now for the complete opposite on the dub versus sub spectrum. And yeah, I agree. Literal translation can sometimes make a character sound childish or like a complete robot. And that is what interpretation and adaptation are for. Even though the situation isn't nearly as binary as the discourse makes it out to be, I will say this in the interest of being clear and on the record. If I had to choose between the hyper-literal extreme, as in The Dark Myth, or the devil may care do whatever you want with the source material extreme, as in Samurai Pizza Cats, I'm in the Pizza Cats camp. Every time. But I'll be honest, one of the main reasons why I brought up this take was because I was beginning to feel like I was the only one who remembered Zone of the Enders. Still sad about that sequel being canceled. And Heartbreak sounds like a good place to wrap this all up. Thank you all so much for your hot takes, and if you have yourself a hot take on anime, leave them in the comments below or head on over to my Twitter @BennettTheSage and look for the pinned comment. Stay tuned for more Dumpster Dive and more Anime Abandon, and check out the Patreon if that strikes your fancy. Till next time.